Hi, I'm Spiders, and as a top Gale player, I was super excited to see a new Gale legendary weapon drop after years of waiting. So of course I had to make a new build on it. Here you will be seeing a showcase of what I believe to be the best build on the Wraithclaw, so let's get into it. Getting right into it, on the side of the screen there will be some gameplay of clips that I got on this build over the past few days, so you can sort of see how I use this build. Although of course this is still quite a new weapon, so take that as you may. That being said, this is a really strong build for this weapon, and I was able to climb to currently top 50 with this build, so I can assure you that this build is definitely strong enough to reach the top ranks of this game. Now getting into the stats, and by the way, this build does work with every race, so that's something convenient about it. Pre-sure we get 50 fortitude, 75 agility, 40 intelligence, and 80 willpower. And of course put 1 to strength, 1 to charisma, 1 to Gale breath, and 1 to light weapon. And post-run you bring strength up to 40, charisma to 25, Gale breath to 80, and light weapon to 25. But also you bring fortitude from 25 to 30, that way you can get lose your mind, which you need 30 strength and 30 fortitude for. Now onto some notes about the stats. I decided to go high agility again for a couple of reasons. The biggest of which is that I want to go Jet Striker, which is really good on this weapon and on light weapon especially too. And just in general, Jet Striker is probably like almost definitely actually the best oath right now. I think most top players would agree with that. And also you get a lot of super nice things by going agility, such as down comes the claw, air counter, cheap shot, ghost, all that stuff. So agility is really good right now. I also decided to go Heretic Suture on this build because since you only have to go 25 light weapon, you kind of have a lot of stats left over, so this is definitely something you can afford and you get some free damage as well as the other benefits from willpower, such as all the random smaller talents you can get. And in my opinion, the new downside to insanity isn't too bad, at least in Chime and stuff like that, so I think it's still worth it. And one more thing, I also decided to go all the dead gods in this build, since might as well get that when you're going high willpower. But if you don't care about that, you can probably get 55 charisma and get those talents if you're interested in that. So that's kind of up to you to decide though. But I preferred to get all the dead gods, so that's why I made this build this way. Now moving on, here we have the pre-shrine talents. Now this might look like kind of a lot, but this build does get Shrine of Order pretty late at level 15, so it shouldn't be too hard to get all these talents. I got all of these really easily without even using Mystic, and as long as you pick all the rares, you should be fine too. So yeah, it's not too bad. This is probably one of my easier builds to make. And also, it's okay if you miss some of these talents, but it's really helpful to have every single one of them since all of these are really meta for PvP right now. So try your best to get all of them, but if you don't, it's okay. Now for actually progressing this build, we have the pre-shrine order here, which first you go agility, then fortitude, then intelligence, then willpower. This is just the path I determined to be as likely as possible for you getting all the talents you need on this build. So of course you don't have to strictly stick to this, but if that's helpful for you, then be sure to go that path. And also this way, when you use Shrine of Order, you only have to reroll for one card, which is Piercing Will, which should be pretty easy to do in this build. You should have enough knowledge, at least I did. So yeah, that's another reason. And next up we also have the post-shrine stat order. Of course you don't need to follow this, especially if you know how to do layer 2 and reroll for stuff. But some people have been asking for this, so here it is. The order is Strength, Charisma, Gale breath, and Light. And this just makes sure that you also have the highest likelihood of getting all the talents that you want. Now also, here's some other miscellaneous stats. I decided to go 6 Vitality and 6 Erudition on this build because honestly, in top Chime, people decide to play really passive, which I don't hold against them. It's just a good playstyle in a lot of builds. But because of that, I end up running out of tempo a lot in some of my builds, so having 6 Erudition just kind of solves that problem, at least a little bit. And of course, 6 Vitality is definitely meta right now. It's very strong, so that's why we're going that as well. But feel free to switch these up however you like. As for the boons and flaws, just make sure you get Steadfast, go whatever else you want, but Steadfast is just one that you need. Every PvP build should have it because it just helps against Iron Sing users especially, making sure that you don't run out of armor. It's kind of a small thing, but I mean it's helpful, so that's what I recommend. As for the race, I went Pelennor just because why not? Might as well add a slot available. You can go whatever you want, like I said earlier. But one important thing is that you should probably go the Naven Warchief because since this is a fist weapon, you should get a boost from using this armor. You could also go the Legion armor if you want. I'm not really sure which one is better exactly right now actually. So that's sort of up for debate whether or not the pen is better or the damage is better. And of course each will be better in different situations. So right now I'm just running the Naven Warchief, but you can switch that if you want to. Now moving on to some other parts of the build, we have the mantras. So of course, we have Astral Wind, this is Gale build. Obviously we're gonna have Astral Wind and put a Blood Gem on it like usual. Don't really need to say much about this. Heavenly Wind, I'm still running Heavenly Wind on this build. I just think the Feint is really strong and it's good for like a counter attack ability. So super solid mantra right now, but preference I guess, you don't have to run it if you don't want to. And same with this next mantra, Wind Gun as well. This is sort of a flex spot with this mantra. You can run something else if you want to, like Revenge. But I'm kind of just picking up Wind Gun again, might as well try it out. And I kind of want some ranged pressure in this build since this is a fist build, so this sort of makes up for that. But I might switch to that eventually, we'll see. And also I'm still using a Blast Spark on it. I did see the Punchy video where it does more damage without a Blast Spark, but I think it's a lot more reliable to hit if you do have the Blast Spark on still. So for now I'm going to keep this on as well. And for the first mobility mantra, we have Jet Kick. Now Jet Kick is just really insane right now, honestly. Like this is what makes Jet Striker super OP, most people would say. Fake Striker is pretty good too as well though, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, Jet Kick is just super good for tracking your opponent, really good on light weapon right now. So make sure you run this. It is very good. And it also takes up a mobility mantra slot too, which is helpful. And of course, also next up we have Wind Passage, just Gale mobility, one of the best mobility monsters in the game, so definitely run it. Put perfect lenses on it, of course, too. You can go over there. And another interesting monster in this kit is Gaze. Now, Gaze is just honestly really broken right now. Even on Gale, I'd still recommend getting this since the Wind Gem speed boost is a lot bigger than the Inhale speed boost. And yeah, Gaze is really good in Fist right now. This helps you stick with your opponents and be super mobile at all times. So definitely run Gaze. I highly recommend it right now. It'll probably get nerfed eventually, but until then, you should definitely be abusing it on high willpower builds, such as this one. And next up, like we mentioned earlier, I have Fake Strike. Now, Fake Strike is just really good. It's another feint, which is pretty sweet on Gale. Although, this honestly requires a lot of skill to use correctly in my opinion, since it's a lot of weird mechanics with Fake Strike, and it's kind of hard to use effectively if you don't know what you're doing. So this monster's sort of up to you if you want to use it or not, but I'm going to use it for now since I really want to learn how to master it, and I think it has really good potential, so that's up to you. And of course, we also have Gale Lunge, a staple of Gale, really good for sticking with your opponent as well, which we want on Fist. So yeah, of course, going to have this in the kit as usual, and same with Rising Wind. Just really strong part of Gale, really good in combos. So yeah, definitely run Rising Wind. Highly recommend it, especially if you're willing to learn it and master it. It's one of the highest skill cap monsters in the game in my opinion, since if you're able to really predict when your M1s will land, you can get super good value out of it. So yeah, really strong mantra. And also next up, I'll scroll through the talents really quickly so you can see what you want to get. This is perfectly min-maxed by the way, so if you want to have a meta loadout, be sure to go with this. And now that that's out of the way, there are some noteworthy parts of the equipment, so I'll also be going over that. So first up here we have the weapon, Wraithclaw of course. I pretty much got this damage as high as I possibly could with the stats, with 3-star damage of course, and these rings which are pretty much optimized to get as much damage as possible as well. And that brought us up to 24.7, which isn't too bad actually. Mostly thanks to these scaling rings since it was really low without that. But yeah, I'd say this is okay, maybe a little lower compared to other light weapons, but I mean it is kind of like that with these elemental weapons, so that's not too surprising. And as to the sidearm, make sure you run the Kyrie Steer because this just gives you more posture back. As you can see when I hold the weapon, I have it equipped out here, so it's actually being used even though this is like a two-handed weapon. So yeah, you could optionally run a shield or a pistol instead, but I kind of don't like sidearm gun because it like messes up my roll cancels and I accidentally do it sometimes and accidentally shoot it. So that's why I have the parrying dagger right now. And I also don't like shields because they make you get less posture and parry, which I think is annoying, especially on this build because it can be kind of hard to land some of these crits. So yeah, that's why I think Kyrie Steer is the best option, but it's sort of up to preference again, so you don't have to do that if you don't want to. As for the armor, I went over this earlier, so I won't talk too much about it, but Navy War Chief just makes you get more pen basically from this talent, as long as you're using Wave Neve. So might as well run that, get some free pen, no downside to that really. And I also have a really good Iron Sinker, I'd say 36 health. It's kind of crazy, I had to use some Armorer's Needles to get this. Maybe could reroll this monster armor, but whatever. Have Viscosity on it, really good armor enchant. And here we have Best Earrings, just get plus 2 HP, no other earrings do that. The Blood Feather Mask, Best Face, 5% Shadow Armor, not bad. And we also have a Con Helmet. This is God Roll. I do have a lure on it. I'm not sure if that's really worth it or not, but this is built without Lasting Charisma or the 55 Charisma talents, so I think it's helpful. And next up, we also have Star Boots with Multiplicity on course. Make sure you run Multiplicity on every meta build nowadays you're trying to make. It's good for PvP at least, because this armor enchant is just really broken, gives you free healing, and you definitely want to have it. And this is also almost God Roll. If it was 30 HP, it would be God Roll, but only 29, so whatever. What can you do? Of course, Ring of Pestilence. I do have all the deck gods, but I think this might have some effect, even if you don't have it on. I'm not really sure, but I just have it on right now. Plus 2 posture, which is God Roll by the way. Kong's Clutch Ring, I gotta get a 2 posture one, but always pretty much run this on Gale because you want to have the mobility. And also Akira's and Maestro's Ring, which I believe are the best scaling rings that you can have in this build, since you go high agility, high willpower, as you can see. So pretty helpful. It actually does give a noticeable damage buff as well, so that's something really nice about this build. And also of course, God Roll Confessor Charm, best in slot right now for your torso. And now that we've got all the equipment, last up is the summary over here. So yeah, you can see the final stats. It has 511 HP, which is good, probably around average for meta builds these days, but that's kind of because I decided to optimize damage more with the high willpower instead of going something like reinforced armor. And this build has a ton of really good talents, so honestly your effective tankiness is going to be quite a lot more than this of course. So there shouldn't really be any worries on that end, as long as you made this build exactly as I did. And 41 posture, pretty solid, like that's good, it's pretty meta. You want to have a good amount of posture these days because everyone's running some sort of build that works around posture, since everyone holds F a lot, so that's kind of why it is like that these days. So yeah, you want to have a high posture, just like this build has, which is really nice. And also it does say we have 49% melee pen. I don't even know if this is accurate to be honest, because this bugs out a lot, but this build definitely has a lot of pen as well, so the damage should be really good too. So that's definitely a strong part about this build for sure. And that was the build. This weapon is super cool, and I really like to spend some time practicing it, so I plan on using this build for at least the next few weeks, alongside my original main build, so that I can learn a lot about this weapon. As for how good I think the weapon is, I'm not completely sure yet, but just from my first impressions over the past few days, it seems pretty balanced, although the crits might be slightly on the weaker end, but still a solid overall weapon. But that's just my opinion right now. I might change my mind later. We'll have to see how things turn out. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe for more top content. See you in the next one.